All right, here we go. There is a series that's on here, right? It's 52 parts, right? And the title of the series is called Why the F or Who the F Did I Marry, right? And I want to ask the question, why the F did you stay? It's not to ding her, it's not to make her look bad because you have to tell your truth. That's her story. She lived it, so she needed to tell it, right? And you have to release in the best way you need to release. Some people go to psychiatrists, but hers was the form of sharing it because she said she wanted to help somebody else in what she went through. But as much as we think is not the norm, it is the norm. It happens quite often. Women find themselves in situations all the time. And the question is, we had a topic tonight that says, what is the why, right? We think we are fixers, right? We think we have all the answers to everything and we don't. We think we understand the game until we get played, right? We think we are aware, we think we are smart, and we are not, right? So we have to ask ourselves as individuals, what is it within us that'll allow us to believe the things that we believe? What is it within us as women that allows us to accept the things that we accept? What is it within us, right? It's a very compelling story, and I'm sure eventually somebody's going to pick it up. They're going to make a Lifetime movie, whatever it's going to be, because it's very interesting. But we sit here and we're naive to think that this is something that's new, but it's not. The only difference between this story and other stories, she was bold enough and she had courage enough to share it with people that she did not know. Understanding that she was going to be criticized, that she was going to be judged, that she was going to be looked down on, and she had to read the nasty comments. Understanding that. But when we hear stories like this, we should not be so quick to be mean and nasty because it could be any one of us. It could have been any one of us. Thank God it wasn't you. That's all I'm saying. But what we need to understand is, what is the why? How do you get to this place? How do you miss all the warning signs? What is it within you that you feel like everything that he says was valid? It goes back to what I've said plenty of times before. It's called check and verify. It's called getting to know. It's called asking the proper questions. It's called don't believe what they're saying, read into what they're not saying. It's called following up. There were so many things, there were so many warning signs in this story that could not have played out the way it played out. But then we as women, we go into certain situations, certain scenarios with the wrong intent. Sometimes we go in with the intent of money. Sometimes we go in with the intent of somebody doing something for us that we don't want to do for ourselves, right? Sometimes our thing is we don't have enough confidence, we don't have enough self-esteem, so people are able to bamboozle us and hoodwink us. And most of the time, it's about the scent that you give off. If you give off an aroma of desperation, that's what you're going to draw. If you give off an aroma of lack of confidence and lack of self-esteem, this is what you're going to draw. Broken people cannot fix broken people. If there's some pieces in you that is missing, if there's some pieces in you that you haven't fixed and you haven't recovered from, and you got a one relationship into another relationship, you're going to miss some things. If your clock is tick-tocking and you're desperate because your eggs is going to dry up, you're going to jump into the wrong things. And what we do is we look at the exterior instead of looking at the interior. The most important attributes of a person is their mind and the heart. if you can see if you can listen to what's in their head and their heart, maybe you might have an idea about a person. But I always tell anybody, in the times that we live in, you can't take people's words as face value. You cannot, unless God himself tap you on your shoulder and say, this is the man I got for you. This is the woman I got for you. How you know that to be true? Because people still run game, and they've gotten good at the game, because you ain't the first one they did it to. You might not be number 2. You might not be number 3. You may be 4, 5, 6, or 7. You don't know that. But something within you is attracting these type of individuals. That's what it is. We keep doing the same thing and choosing the same way, expecting different results. And the signs of that is insanity. So what we need to do as individuals before we get out, once we get out of a relationship, we need to take our time to heal. We need to take our time to mend the cracks and the crevices of our heart. We need to take our time for that. What's the rush? Why you got to jump out of one thing into something else? You haven't healed. You haven't made yourself whole. And I keep saying this. People can make their mouths say anything. They can, all for the sake of a warm bed and a hot meal. And they will bait you and make it seem like they have your best interests at heart, and they really don't. So in this circumstance, in this situation, as eloquently as she talked, as detailed as she is in her conversation, the alerts were evident. The alerts started in the onset of the conversation, right? The alert started when the man had 2 profiles. Later, she described as one says Matthew and one says Matt on 2 different platforms. And some people may say that's normal. For me, it's a red flag. How do you see it as being? Secondly, you go to meet him for dinner. You have a blowout. I understand the blowout. I'm going to reschedule. I don't even know you. He asks you to pin your location. He pins the location. He comes to you where you're at with the flat tire, right? And he puts the donut on your car. And he says to you, you can't ride on a donut. Well, everybody know you can't ride on a long period of time on a donut. That's obvious. It's a temporary fix. That's what it is. So he says, well, I did some research and I found out that there is a tire shop around the corner. Let me take your car around the corner. And he paid for the tire. And that took her back. And I was like, oh, wow. I don't even know nothing about this man. Even though y'all had 4-hour conversation, you still didn't know nothing about him, right? You didn't. You didn't. And he paid for your tire, and that was impressive to you. So impressive that it left a great impact in your life, in your mind, in your heart. You weighed heavily on that. You weigh heavily on that. And that should not even been nothing. It was a good gesture. Yes, it was a great gesture. But could you have fixed or bought your own tire for yourself? This is somebody you don't even know. You don't even know this person, right? And so people that you're dating even sometimes struggle with paying for your tire to get fixed. And he just met you, don't know nothing about you. And when they went to the Cheesecake Factory, it took me back to the young lady who said she was beneath the Cheesecake Factory, right? But I'm like, you didn't know this man. You ping your location. You don't know if he's a serial killer. You don't know nothing about him, right? And I've always been a firm believer. Until I get to know you, you cannot be in my close proximity. We can't hang out. We can't do anything. So there were some alerts. There were some warning signs. And there was definitely some notifications at the beginning. And because he bought the tire, it was a brownie point for him. And it was very impressive because this was their first date that they was meeting, and she was impressed with the bought of the tire. Makes you wonder, makes you question. And what was the why that he was so quick to get you a tire for your car? Think about it. That's all I'm saying. Part one.